Those who can do. Those who can't talk about those who can. Now, can you or can you not? Or you just want to sit on the sideline and talk about other people, or can you step up?
Well, good morning, good people. Mark Holmes here, and as always, I want to say thank you all for watching, commenting, subscribing, and being part of the Joe Boo Sports Report. Without you guys, as well as you ladies, you know that this literally does not work. Hope everybody's having a great day. I know somebody who's not having a great day right now, and today is a player's day off, and this might be another opportunity to finally get this thing done, because this thing is getting ugly, and we are talking about the Micah Parsons situation here. Micah Parsons, I don't think that he wants to really be helping guys off the field and helping them to the locker room like he did with Tyler Guyton. Shout out to Tyler Guyton, who initial prognosis of him was way off, and we'll get back to that in a second. But Micah Parsons, I can guarantee you, is not happy about not being on the field. And this game that the Cowboys are playing, it's like they are literally trying to break his will, that he's got to want to get paid. This bull crap that they're giving. We had Zeke Elliott in Cabo, and they realized how much they needed him and ended up having to make a deal. We know D-Law didn't get his shoulder operated on and basically put a gun to their head. You've had Micah Parsons working out OTAs, minicamp, and being here on the field without a contract. And you're still treating him like doo-doo. Last night, now I can't play the audio on this because I'm sure that it will get copywritten, but he definitely sent some shots and a message to the Dallas Cowboys. Now, I have been wearing some shirts. Shout out to Miss Tracy. I'm doing all my Micah ones. I'm going to get mine. Okay, I love this one. I'm going to get mine. Yesterday, we had Work Harder, and, of course, Micah Knows. And so we're going to continue to do Micah Parsons and support him, even though I get 49er fans that say, you're too loyal to the players. Well, you know what? You got to be loyal to something. This is exactly what Micah Parsons had. He said he used a Drake song and lyrics in here, flashing some pictures of him working out. They want to act like I'm no good. I've already done more than I should. Let's look at what he put on here. Nope. Don't want to get copywritten. They want to act like I'm no good. I do no good. Yeah. I've already done more than I should. So this is beginning to really heat up, where you're kind of getting a player who's a bit pissed off. Now, here is the reality of all of this. Because of the collective bargaining agreement, where the NFL basically said, you want to smoke some weed? Hey, we're okay with that. We're going to get a 17-game schedule. And then they put in the Zeke Elliott clause, which was basically, if you hold out, the fines are non-refundable unless it is your first contract, I think. Because I think CeeDee Lamb's fines were not there, although Zach Martin's were. Okay, Zach Martin ended up losing $1 million of the extra $8 million a year that he got because of the fines of actually holding in. So I don't know exactly how this is going to relate to Micah Parsons, but the Cowboys are petty. And see, when you're rich and it doesn't affect your bottom line, as in I can't get fired because I screwed the pooch, you can do stupid things like this. But they need to, let's be clear here, get this thing done. Because the longer this wound festers, the worse it'll get. Although, I can say this much. Myles Garrett, who at the beginning of the offseason said, I'm done with Cleveland. I will never play for the Cleveland Browns again. As soon as they signed up to $40 million a year, man, Cleveland, can we strap on the helmet right now today? So money talks, BS walks. All right, so hopefully, maybe today we'll see some movement on Micah Parsons' contract. We do know that the Cowboys apparently have have been talking with Deron Bland, and there may be an offer on the table for him to get that thing done. We know that the agent for Tyler Smith was at Dallas yesterday, so they may be working on some of these other things, and maybe they'll get to Micah Parsons. At least I hope they do. Yesterday in Manhattan, I didn't realize that this was actually at the NFL headquarters. The NFL headquarters is on Park Avenue. They have a couple of floors in this building that I think Blackstone is in there, a very prestigious building and things. A Shane Tamora ended up going into the building, and his intentions were to go to the NFL office. Unfortunately for him, I guess, or fortunately for the NFL, he went to the wrong floor. And he ended up actually shooting, or one of the NFL employees was actually injured in this. He ended up shooting 4 people before taking his own life. There was a note that was left. Actually, he shot and killed 4 people. Okay, excuse me. There were 4 killed. The suspect, who allegedly has shot and killed 4 people on Monday, is believed to have turned the gun on himself, dying by suicide at 27 years old. He carried a note made in reference to NFL and claimed that he suffered from CTE, or chronic traumatic. I can't pronounce it's CTE. It's where you've basically, your brain has been destroyed because of the hits. And the note also requested that his brain be studied. He referenced Terry Long, who was a Pittsburgh Steelers offensive lineman who ended up drinking antifreeze and taking his own life. Terry Long: football gave me CTE and caused me to drink a gallon of antifreeze, the note stated per sources. You can't go against the NFL. They'll squash you. Please study for CTE. I'm sorry. The league now knowingly concealed the dangers to our brains to maximize profits, and they failed us. So he played high school football and was documented with mental health histories. So prayers to the families that lost their loved ones, and for those that were injured and things. And, you know, when we had Eugene on, shout out to Leo Bridgewater, we all love football. Let's be real here. But there is so many inherent dangers of playing football. I still have bad knees from a torn ACL. My back goes out all the time, and I never played in the NFL. And there are many, many people that suffer because of football and the dangers that go along with it. Now, like anything, people who, free climb buildings and stuff are taking a risk at what they're doing. And you can take risks with what you do and how you decide to do it. The key on this is knowing what risks you are taking and how far that you take it. Teams forever have always looked out for the teams. I get accused of being on the player side all the time, that they're not taking team friendly deals. When you see somebody who has been your hero, that literally at my age cannot get out of the bed because their body is broken up, there's no amount of money that ends up being for the next 20 or 30 years or however long you live that you're crippled. And that's where you have to look at this and say, the players like Micah Parsons doing what he's doing. And we're talking about Tyler Guyton, who's got a fracture in his foot, and we're saying, hey, he's going to be back, in 4 to 6 weeks. They're doing things that are inhuman. And you have to understand that. And the ways they have to do this is a lot of times they're kind of forced on with all kinds of medications so they don't feel the pain. And there's all kinds of effects of that. And so, understand when you say, oh, that guy's just what, because he's not out there playing. People, you wouldn't have a chance at doing what these guys do. And I forever will be on the player side because of what they do. So back to Tyler Guyton. So at first when Tyler Guyton went down, it's funny how you don't miss the water till the well runs dry, so to speak. you take things for granted. You know, people were, Tyler Guyton, he's a bust, he's a bum, and everything else. But the moment that we thought he was lost for the season, oh my God, we lost that guy. Yeah, all of a sudden you appreciated him because you thought you didn't have him. The Cowboys got lucky as could be that it ends up being a fracture as opposed to a torn ACL. That he may be back in 4 to 6 weeks, maybe only misses one game, maybe two, maybe even none, depending on how severe this fracture is. I mean, we thought that Terrence Steele had a high ankle sprain, and it ended up being that it wasn't that severe, and he only missed one practice. So hopefully it's not as severe as they think, and maybe he is back to start the season. Now, for the Cowboys, if this was going to be that he was going to be lost for the season, then you might have thought about taking Tyler Smith and moving him out to tackle like we did with Tyron Smith was out. But with this being a short-term situation, what you'll probably see is Akeem Richards, who they've been actually using in jumbo packages at tight end, probably being the starter for week 1, because it won't be time to actually panic at this moment with that injury. So we've been fortunate right there. In fact, we've been very, very lucky because, again, Terrence Steele, they at first thought was a high ankle sprain, and that can be 6-8 weeks easily and maybe never healing for the season. So we've actually gotten lucky on these injuries. I know it doesn't seem that way, but it is. So as we get ready to roll through here, and again, today is a day off for the Cowboys, a chance to lick their wounds as far as practice on the field. Of course, there's going to be classroom work and things like that. Maybe this is an opportunity for the Cowboys to get Micah Parsons' deal done because they really and truly need to. Let's go to the tape on more on Micah.
Yesterday we had our eye on it. Looked like there was a serious injury in Dallas, and it turns out not to have been quite as bad as initially feared. That's their starting left tackle, Tyler Guyton. Turns out he sustained a bone fracture in practice that will not require surgery, is expected to miss 4 to 6 weeks. That's the good news, considering initially they thought it was an ACL. So the question is, when healthy, how good does this offense look?
Well, I think they look really good, but you just said something incredibly important there. When healthy. If they're healthy, they can be really good, but if ifs were fifths, we'd all be drunk, Greeny. So the question here, of course, is how healthy can they stay? Because top-end talent-wise, they do have what it takes. The problem is the depth, and by the way, that's what happens when you drag out negotiations and pay people top-end dollar and don't have depth.
That's a professional segue that we make to the Cowboys offseason, being highlighted, of course, by the Micah Parsons situation and the standoff for the contract. Fans, you may have seen this over the weekend, were expressing their frustration on Saturday, chanting, "Pay Micah," at practice. The executive vice president, Stephen Jones, heard those fans on Saturday. When asked about it, he said, "It doesn't change anything. We want to pay Micah too. He's got to want to be paid too." Stephen A. Smith heard that. He didn't like it.
That is one of the most ignorant statements I've ever heard come out of the mouth of an executive.
I can't disagree
Stephen Jones,
with that.
respect to you, my brother. But if it wasn't for your daddy, would you be a CEO, a COO in the NFL?
I can't
Would you be?
disagree with that.
Did you want the job? Did you earn it? Come on now. Let's go. Hey, I'm back. I'm back. It's true. It's the truth. I ain't knocking it. I ain't knocking it. You understand? I ain't knocking it. Every parent is entitled to look out for their child. But it's important that the child recognizes you were born on third base. Don't act like you hit a triple.
Ooh.
My favorite part of that is he started it with respect to you and then went on to
Respect
say
to you.
that. But
Right.
look, I'm trying to figure out what I think it is Stephen Jones was trying to say when he said that. What do we know?
Well, I mean, there's two implications to that, one of which is Micah is asking for too much money, or Micah simply isn't negotiating and wants to get to free agency. From what I understand, the best premise there would be he's asking for too much money in the eyes of Stephen Jones, because he very much wants to stay with the Cowboys under contract. It, of course, is a perplexing comment because very clearly they could have paid Micah Parsons a certain amount 1 year ago, decided not to. That price tag goes up every time. For instance, TJ Watt getting paid, somebody gets paid at the position. So I can assure you of this, Micah Parsons does, breaking news, want to be paid.
So the other way one could interpret that, and I'm going to do the worst thing you can do, which is I'm just going to guess what he might be meaning. So I don't take this as though I'm reporting it happened. But if I'm Micah Parsons, it would make sense to me. He knows, just as we know, that the price tag keeps going up every time a deal gets done. So I think C.D. Lamb at one point, all the reporting was that he wants to wait until Justin Jefferson does his deal, and then he knows he'll wind up getting top dollar. Maybe what Stephen Jones is alluding to is that Micah Parsons hasn't been in a hurry to get this deal done because look at all the things that have happened. Myles Garrett got paid and T.J. Watt got paid, and the price tag went skyrocketing up.
Let's assume your guess is correct. Part of being in the front office, Greeny, is to be the strategist and be proactive and say, hey, we are going to create a sense of urgency. Guess what, Micah? And RC, you've heard me say this before. We're going to get in a room and we're going to throw so much guaranteed money at you that even though you're right, Greeny, strategically it makes sense to wait. We're going to give you so much guaranteed money, you can't say no. And to give credit to Philadelphia, they use a very similar approach. They go early, they give the player enough guaranteed money, they say yes, and then they win on the average per year. But when you do this over and over again, if Micah Parsons was an outlier, it's survivable. But to Jeff's point he made, when C.D. Lamb's at the top of the market and Dak Prescott, it eviscerates your middle class, it eviscerates your depth and your ability to keep other good players. So to me, I would figure out a way to say to Micah, we're going to make this work for you because Nick Bosa's at $34 million and we're not leaving until we get a deal done.
And they didn't do that, and so now the number goes into the 40s. RC, what's your take on the whole thing?
Never knew that diarrhea of the mouth was a hereditary trait. I didn't know that that could be passed down from father to son. And maybe it's a learned behavior because you actually don't have to talk in that manner. You can actually be tight-lipped about negotiations. You don't have to feel like I have to win the war of the words through the media. And if you look at Micah Parsons and his behavior throughout the entire offseason, I don't know what the negotiations sound like, but when you look at the optics, he's gone to off-season practices. He's been at minicamp, even if not participating. He's now at training camp. And so if you look at Micah Parsons, he's saying, I want to be here. Let's get this deal done so I can put on pads and move forward. And now when you have executives saying things like, well, I heard a louder crowd from last year when they were saying pay Lamb. It's just murmurs when I listen to what's being said or what's being screamed or what's being cheered by Micah Parsons. Why do you want to put the bear? Because here's what we know. He is the best player on your team when you take out position. He is one of the best players at his position on his side of the football in all of the world.
There you go.
You're going to pay him. So why do this publicly to get one of your best players, one of your locker room leaders to feel like you don't want him, you don't respect him, you don't value him? It's not good football, and it's certainly not good business.
That's a really good point. I'm glad that you made it. We all know this deal's going to get done.
Amen. We all know that. One other thing here, I was actually looking up the bone fracture. So basically, as opposed to a bone bruise, a bone fracture in the knee involves a break of one or more of the bones that make up the knee joint, including the patella. So it could be that you basically got a crack in the patella, in the kneecap, or the femur, or the tibula. So it's kind of like you got a hairline crack that's in there. You'll get a lot of swelling and things. So basically, you're going to end up waiting for this to hopefully heal. Depending on the severity of it, surgery could be required or a cast to immobilize it to allow it to really heal. So the other part of this, when we say 4 to 6 weeks, that you're going to have to worry about is atrophy. If we're talking about putting it in a brace or a cast, then we're talking about losing muscle strength. And of course, then once you start working out and start playing, you only go downhill. So, basically you start at a point right here. You're just trying to maintain as much of that as possible. You don't get stronger as the season goes through. So definitely we dodged the bullet with both of our tackles getting not being lost for the season or significant time, but it's still going to be a problem. Alrighty, good people, as always, I appreciate you all. And if we get any news, hopefully we'll hear news on contracts today. No practice today, but of course, it's the Dallas Cowboys, and there's shit always going on. I got to get out of here.
can't stand it anymore. I've got to get out of here. I've got to get out of here. Calm down. Get a hold of yourself.
Stewardess, please let me handle this.
I've got to get
Calm down. Now get back to your seat. I'll take care of this. Calm down. Calm down. Get a hold of yourself.
Doctor, you're wanted on the phone. Everything's going to be all right. Please.
Sister, please, I'll handle this.